Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is the Global Reality Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network with me, your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being here with us tonight for another late-night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. Yes, indeed, it is Metal Moonbat Monday. Yes, indeed, it is. So thanks for being here with us tonight. It is the 30th of April, 2012, into the 1st of May, 2012. Yes, we are now officially right smack dab in the middle
of Beltane, motherfucker. Oh yeah, that's my favorite holiday. Beltane, yeah.
Oh, right. Anyway, regardless of that, May 1st. It's also the Adam Weistop Day, right? It's also Michael Desarian's birthday, is strangely enough as well. Isn't it? Anybody else think that's kind of weird? Feel sorry for him. I'd hate to have my birthday be the same day as the birthday of the Illuminati and be involved in this kind of research. It would just suck. Oh, man. Hope you had a nice weekend. We're back here for another week of shows for you here on the Global Reality. We're going to be getting into, of course, our usual crazy, manic amount of news for Monday here tonight. And, any emails you want to send in during the show or any time for me to get into and discuss, theglobalreality.com is my website, and the email address is globalrealityshow@gmail.com. It's globalrealityshow@gmail.com. Love to have emails from you over there anytime, and be happy to get into those here on the show. I had talked about on the last show, Thursday night. Yes, May Day as well. I talked about that I was working on a new installment of the Reality of Illusion series. And so in lieu of doing a show Friday night, I just, burned on through all night and pulled an all-nighter and stayed up all night and all morning and got that done and got it out there. And I could be mistaken about this, but I'm pretty sure I'm pretty accurate about these kind of things because I really don't care much about stats and all that stuff. I never have as far as the radio show goes, but I've always kept up with the YouTube stuff pretty well, only because they fuck you so much you have to. You know what I mean? But I have to say, I'm pretty sure about this, about 99% sure about this. I think that this new series of Reality of Illusion Part 5, Secrets of the Sun, is my fastest viewed movie to date, meaning, well, it's only been up 3 days, so we're already almost at 500 hits, 500 views in 3 days. I don't think I've had a film that's gotten that many views that quickly ever. So I don't know whether that's a testament to the content or, maybe there's a lot of people that are researching that right now. Maybe that's why. Or maybe people just spread it around. A lot of people have seen it. I don't know. But either way, thanks to everybody who's watched that and spread the word about it. You can find it. It should be up there on the website for you now. Global Reality website, theglobalreality.com. But you can also find it by going to YouTube. Just type Reality of Illusion, Part 5, Secrets of the Sun. And funny story about how that thing came about. Of course, on the show Thursday night, I had talked a lot about that stuff. And I talked about making, going to be working on this part 5 of that film. That's what I was planning on doing that night of the show. And, just because I had already been in that mode of researching that stuff, I had all of my research materials right there on hand in front of me when I was doing the show Thursday night. So what I realized is that after I got done with the show that night, I went back to start working on that. And I got, it was just kind of a natural thing of the way I make films and things. I just, went to the notepad and started jotting down a script kind of, or things I want to see be in there. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I work. I'll make a master list of all the things I want to see in the film and then start writing stuff around that, with the info. And as I started doing that, I realized, wait a second here. Hold on. As I went and put the archive on, turned the stream on and listened to the show, the repeat. And I realized, I said, God damn it, I said everything that I wanted to say about that subject during the show, And I went, there is no sense in me going back here and just, rewriting something. And because, that was total, spontaneous. There's no, oftentimes when I'm doing voiceovers and stuff, there's multiple takes or whatever. Since that was from the show, it was really stream of consciousness and kind of raw and just, whatever. But I realized that, I was like, man, I could sit here and work on this all night and I wouldn't get the information out any better than I did here on the show, in that part that I did that night. So, I just took that and used that and cut it in with my footage and stuff that I had and used it because, again, it's just one of those kind of cool that it worked out that way, but I didn't really intentionally try to do it that way. It just worked out. It was just one of those things where, I was like, I'm not going to be able to get this out better than I did there. So I just, put it out that way. But we have had quite a few views. I appreciate everybody out there spreading it around and sending it to their friends and putting it on their Facebooks and stuff. Just a whole lot of positive feedback so far. And it's, I've always been paying attention to this sun stuff, and I always knew the sun was going to play a big factor around this, around 2012, regardless of what you believe about 2012 conspiracy theories and 2012 messianic return theories and 2012 planetary return theories or whatever it may be. Regardless of what you think about that, these solar events that have been cataloged throughout time are definitely real. They're definitely cyclical, and the ancient ones definitely had a knowledge of this. And what I'm starting to find more and more that just amazes me in the process of making this new film is how whoever these ancient people were that predated even what we know as the Native Americans here in the United States, for whatever reason, this knowledge and these cycles of the sun, as far back in antiquity as this is, they knew that it was going to be important for the people of the future to know this. And my God, the amount of sites we're told that, this is just sun worshipers, and the sun worshipers, just they aligned their temples to the sun because they were sun worshipers and blah blah blah, and that's it. That's the end of the story. And that's such a load of bullshit. The fact of the matter is, they were all aligned to these things like the solstice and the equinoxes and everything else because of the energy that I've read. I've read stories of people that go into these different sites, during the equinox, and they say that you can literally feel an energy. That's why you can't go out to Stonehenge during an equinox or a solstice or anything else. They'll have a big fence around it, and you can't even get near it. But yet you will see, if you go out there, people in druid get-ups out there, and those are elites. You can't see their faces; they're masked. Those are part of the elite order of druids, one of the ancient secret societies. And these guys are allowed to go out there, and because there actually is energy that you're accessing and feeling in these locations. And I don't know how, and I don't know when, but I plan on sometime this year being somewhere, going to some site for one of these, solstice or equinox events, because I want to experience this thing that I've been reading described quite a bit lately, that you feel at any of these locations that are aligned to these things. And my God, they're all over the place. You don't have to, if you're in the United States, you don't have to drive very far to go to one. There are more than we'll ever know about, and there's so many that have been hidden and covered up. And that's, that for me, this is what this whole Rockwall thing has become. It's amazing what it's become. It's become more than what I ever really initially intended it to do. But what it's going to do is it's going to shed light on the fact that there are so many other places like Rockwall all over the United States that have been buried and covered up intentionally to cover up the true past of this country. And we've talked about the possibility of these, these people being ancient Freemasons and having ancient Freemasonic knowledge. And that's, folks, believe it or not, that's starting to become more and more, looks like more and more of a reality that I'm looking at. I'm finding so much crazy stuff, man. In Oklahoma, they found, because that's what scared people off the most about the rock wall stuff. Especially, legit geologists and stuff who have looked at this stuff. What scared these guys off the most, made them run and crawl into their caves with their tail between their legs, has been how old this thing is. When they start really looking at it and looking at, how much is below the blue shale, that's the big kicker. You look at the date when that blue shale was deposited, and you look at how much of the wall, which is, about another 60 feet down, and you realize that everything below that blue shale was built prior to that blue shale being deposited, then you figure, oh my God, and that usually scares the bejesus out of them. And they found in Oklahoma some years ago underneath, deep under the ground, they found this like a Masonic checkerboard floor, like a ritual floor. You've seen it all the time, the black and white checkerboard floor. It's always associated with Masonic lodges and Masonic rituals and that. They found one. They found somewhere else too, as well, in another state, buried way down deep, and they said there was no question that it was the work of humans, and it dated at right around 200,000 years old. The other one dated right around 300,000 years old. They also, I found out, not too far from where I was recently on my road trip, somewhere I hope to go back to get more footage of other locations and other artifacts I've found very close to there in the Tennessee, Alabama area. They found in that area, southern Tennessee, northern Alabama, very close to the Tennessee River where I was at. Listen to this. Oh, shit, my mic's doing something crazy. Oh, okay. Well, that was like about to fall or something. In 1891, while examining a wooded ridge on his property, 13 miles from Cleveland, Tennessee, J.H. Hooper discovered a subterranean structure. Hopper spent weeks uncovering the structure and was later to find a wall he traced for 1,000 feet with an average size of 2 feet thick, a height of 8 feet, with more projections like the first one spaced along the top every 25 to 30 feet. The wall ran roughly at an angle of 15 to 20 degrees east, with the structure continuing in both directions beyond the section exposed, following the crest of a ridge which extends from the Hiawassee River north of Chattanooga southward and dips beneath the Tennessee River. So this thing goes under the Tennessee River. The Tennessee River is fucking huge. It's a pube hair smaller than the Mississippi. Its position geologically dated the structure to be over 1 million years old. Now, see, here we go. We got because that's the rock wall. We're talking 500. We're talking at least 500,000 and on up. 500 million, maybe. I mean, people, it just goes up and up and up depending on who's looking at it. I mean, this is not my opinion. This is stuff I've seen from what other people have said about the wall. But again, it doesn't take a geologist to be able to tell that the goddamn rock wall is old as hell, because you can go and look when blue shale was deposited on Earth. Go look at that date and realize that there's 60 feet of wall that doesn't match the construction above where the blue shale is. That you can tell is modern stuff. And then the further you get down below that blue shale, the bigger the rocks get. The more depth you get, the rocks get bigger. So they found something very similar to the rock wall in Tennessee, dated to be over 1 million years old. The wall was made of red sandstone blocks. Here we go with the sandstone, just like we've seen in the rock wall. I had never heard of this. This is mind-blowing to me, folks. There's more than one. I mean, they're being covered up systematically. The wall was made of redstone blocks constructed in 3 courses and cemented together with dark red clay mixed with salt, and in numerous places plastered over with red slate and yellow clays. Along one stretch of wall near the northern end, a distance of 16 feet, Hooper found hidden beneath the outer clay plaster a number of the sandstone block surfaces engraved with hieroglyphs of a lost language, just like at Rock Wall. Hieroglyphs of a lost language. The letters were arranged in wavy, parallel, and diagonal lines interspersed with small pictures of strange animals and astronomical symbols. Altogether, 872 individual characters were made out, with many of them repeated, suggesting that the script was a form of pictographic writing. Despite the implications of the wall and the challenge of the discovery of this ancient writing, the scientific community approached the finding with overwhelming apathy, just as they did with Rock Wall. Only a brief mention of the mystery wall of Tennessee by A.L. Rawson appeared in Transactions of the New York Academy of Sciences. Rawson examined the structure and script firsthand and published some copies he had made of the glyphs and pictures. So there are that's what we're finding here, folks. I mean, there is no question in my mind now, at this point of my research into this stuff, there is no question in my mind that there has been a massive cover-up. You know, and all those stories that we know now about, all the U.S. government giving the smallpox blankets to American Indian tribes to kill them off. I mean, now we know why. Unbelievable stuff. So I'm just, again, it's like every time I make a film, I never think it's going to be as deep as it is. But as I was saying about these mound locations and this energy that you supposedly feel when you're there during one of these events, seems to be, for whatever reason, why they were constructed. And yes, it very well could be that at these certain locations, when there's certain alignments and energies that you're able to transcend if you know how to do that or are capable of that. I mean, there's definitely multiple cases of it where people that have inhabited these areas have just flat disappeared. And these people weren't doing this for no reason. I mean, again, the people like in Moundville, Alabama, 500 years building these mounds, only to completely vacate the area once they were completed? It makes zero sense. Let's see if we have a few emails to answer here tonight. All right, this is from the most interesting man in the world. Josh, I had some trippy ideas about consciousness expanding plants. Thought I would share. After having my experiences, I believe psychedelics allow access to neural pathways normally filtered by our normal five senses. Under the influence of these plants, this allows your brain to operate on higher planes of frequency, allowing access to these neural pathways. Because of this change of frequency plans, our five senses are affected greatly. For example, if you were to compare the size of your conscious to a computer, your conscience... Is he saying conscious or consciousness? I mean, I don't understand what you mean. You mean your consciousness? Does not. You're saying conscience. Two different things. If you were to compare the size of your consciousness, we'll correct that for him, to a computer, your consciousness would be the equivalent to the processor of the motherboard. Dude, how high are you? Really? I got to ask. I'm sorry, I can't even finish it. Dude, really? How high are you, and where can I get some of that good stuff that you're on? Because, my God, dude, you are fucking high. You are really fucking high. I can't even make hardly heads or tails of this, dude. I mean, no. Having access to higher frequencies of consciousness, and not allowing humanity to access these channels is a gross example of human rights violations. P.S. The one you referred to as the Dos Equis guy. What? Dude, you really are high. I tell you what. Once you rethink your question, call me in about, send me another email in about, I don't know, at least 17, 18 hours from now, after you come off that white blotter. And don't chase it with 4 grams of mushrooms and, a fucking mescaline cocktail either, okay? Come down off of your trip and then send me another email and I'll try to coherently answer your question. Cause you're fucked up, buddy. I start having a breathalyzer before you are able to send a message into my show here. Jesus. Oh, man. I don't always trip acid and send emails to radio shows, but when I do, it's the global reality. As for Max, he says, "Hey Josh, I was reading about out-of-body experiences and the Akashic records, and it relates a lot to your latest read. So I was wondering if you're into lucid dreaming or out-of-body experiences. Have you ever tried it? Would love to hear what your take on it is. And I've never heard you address that issue in regards to your personal life. Actually, how long have you been listening? Because I talked about that." Just a few months ago, not very long ago. I think it's been the last 6 months. I was talking about, when you realizing that the dream world is actually another parallel world, and when you're aware of this, and before you go to bed at night, you tell yourself, "Hey, I'm gonna go into that world tonight." You can actually consciously make yourself. I've done it. Yeah, I've done that kind of stuff. I've made myself be able to go into the same. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Kind of the same. It's like a grid map for a video game. You know what I mean? You know how the video games have a map for the whole level or whatever. It's kind of like that. It kind of looks like, I guess, regular everyday the regular world does, except it's not our regular everyday world. It's somewhere else, and different things happen there and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I found I'm able to be able to go into that world. If I consciously tell myself before I go to sleep I want to go into that world. If I don't, then I won't. But if I do, I do. It's I don't know. I mean, I guess that's kind of what it is. The fact of the matter is that our biological computer, our body is very limited with our current understanding of it. It's very limited in how many of the other realms are existing all around us all the time we can access. Some animals have the ability to access more than one of these realms. And we can learn to do it as well through different training and different exercises. I mean, again, people have always wondered why we don't use as much of our brain as we could, and that we just, that's because we're not using it on all these various other different things, because we're not being allowed to know we can do that. But yes, I mean, you can learn to teach yourself how to enter into these other realms in various ways. Some people do it as, I think our last emailer. Some people do it through psychedelics, which, frankly speaking, for some people, for myself, it's how I was. It's a great gateway to get you into it, and then you don't need it forever. It's like training wheels. You can, but it's a great way to leap start and jump start your ability to at least disconnect yourself from what your mental construct and what you believe reality is. Because what you believe reality is, for the most part, is wildly different than what it actually is. And so psychedelics can sort of have that ability to unplug you for a moment. And it's strange. It's like when you get back from it, you appreciate your regular everyday world more. I don't know why that is, but I find that to be the case with so many people, because it unplugs you from this reality for a moment. It shows you another reality that's very different from the one you see every day. And sometimes, yes, it can be scary, and sometimes it can be beautiful and wonderful, and sometimes both all at the same time. But then you come back from that, and it's kind of like, it's kind of like a vacation for a minute. You feel, like you can reappreciate everyday waking normal life. And I think that these other realms of existence are going into, the dreamland and all this stuff. They can do that too. I mean, there's so many things that we can do for ourselves to access higher states of consciousness that we can do to heal ourselves and heal the world and everything else. But it's just, it's all being limited for us. But if you want it, just because it's being limited from you and it's being held from you doesn't mean you can't have it. It's something people commonly don't get. Just because they're withholding that information from you doesn't mean it's not out there. It doesn't mean you can't go out there and find it. It's just you have to want it, man. You have to really want it. And a lot of the information is like it. You have to want it to find it. I've just been shocked at how right on I've been for years about my theories about the rock wall and about these. I mean, I'm finding stuff now. It just is reaffirming everything I've thought for years. And it blows my mind, the stuff that this encompasses. I mean, this conspiracy, this is as much a part of the grand conspiracy I've covered in every other aspect on my show as anything is. That's why I just couldn't imagine there being anybody out there that's liked anything I've done before, not liking what I'm doing now, because it's a continuation of everything else I've ever done. And again, it proves that this conspiracy is not something that's been going on for a short amount of time. This is something that's been going on for years and years and years. From time immemorial, it's passed down generationally, and that's what these elite blue blood families essentially are. They are the conspirators. We know that, but it sounds simple to say that, but think about it. That's what their job is. They are hereditary conspirators. And they continue the agenda and the conspiracy from the time they're born till the time they die, just like their forefathers did before them. And that's why there is a place for us. That's why there is a place for those of us who are seeking to find this truth. There's a place for us out here because all this stuff actually exists, but there are a few people seeking it. That means there's a place for us in this world. Max also says, P.S. Also would love to know if you're going to have guests again anytime soon. Doubt it. Very rarely do I have guests. But when I do, I like to have big ones. Still listen to your interviews from time to time. I'd love to hear you have on Michael Desarian and hear his take on the whole Ancient America project. Well, that's funny you say that, because I was actually going to try to get Desarian on pretty soon. I will definitely work on trying to get him on very soon. Hopefully he'll say yes. He's never said no before, but that could change. I don't know. We'll get a hold of him and see. I'd love to have him on, though. And had him on in a while. It's always a great show. Oh, man. I love when he and I get to just cut loose. It's a lot of fun. Hadn't done that in a while. Well, I'll definitely work on trying to get that, Max. Appreciate your email. Love to have yours. Global Reality Show at gmail.com. That's Global Reality Show at gmail.com. Let's get into this stack of news tonight. This is one from my backyard here in Dallas. Actually came from the local news. Residents say gas well fracking polluted air in Colleyville and South Lake. Well, there's that fact and figure from that scientist at TCU, University of Fort Worth, in the movie Gasland, where he talks about how the fracked wells in North Texas put out more greenhouse gases and toxic emissions per year than all the planes, cars, trucks, automobiles, everything in the Dallas area combined per year. Private residents took air samples during Titan Operating's hydraulic fracturing of a natural gas well between the two cities. According to a news release Tuesday morning from Earthworks Oil and Gas Accountability Project, an environmental organization, the test found emissions of toxic chemicals, including some that were over Texas state guidelines for long or short-term exposures. We paid for tests because we can't depend on the city or the fracking industry, Colleyville resident Kim Davis said in the release. The test confirmed our worst fears. While Colleyville ignored their own tests to let fracking continue, apparently city represents Titan and the gas industry instead of local residents. No word yet from Colleyville or South Lake officials. Fort Worth-based Titan Operating LLC of the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, which sets the health effects screening levels of that group, cited. And South Lake has now surpassed Rockwall as the richest county in Texas. And that's hard to believe. That's some balls, because that's South Lake and Colleyville. That's kind of a more high end, upper class area. You know what I mean? But then again, they're sitting on a lot of cheese out there. This is interesting. In light of all the asteroid threats and alien threats and all this stuff, and now with sort of the space shuttle thing going on the wayside, just as the military-industrial complex likes to have plenty of business, that's why they keep wars going, it makes you wonder now, what is the space technology industry going to do now that not as much being spent? Well, they're going to need it seems to me that the space manufacturing industry is going to need themselves a 9/11. They need a big event to justify their existence. And I've said for years, because I used to really be behind the phony alien invasion thing, that they were going to stage one, and I had to backtrack on that a couple of years ago because I started noticing that all the sources on that didn't really indicate that, more that they were going to tell us that friendly, non-hostile aliens were in fact hostile when they were not. But I think that if there was anybody that was going to be a good culprit for having the ability and having the motive to stage an alien invasion, it would be these people. With shuttles in, space firm seeks new direction. Less than a year after NASA ended its shuttle program, players in the Americas space business are casting around for new direction. United Technologies Corporation is the most recent company to announce it will sharply scale back its role in space exploration. It's selling Pratt & Whitney Rocketdyne, a manufacturer of rocket engines and liquid propulsion systems that it's owned for 7 years. The sale of Rocketdyne and other businesses are intended to raise $3 billion to finance United Technologies' purchase of aerospace parts maker Goodrich Corporation. Greg Hayes, chief financial officer at United Technologies, wrapped U.S. space policy when he announced the decision in mid-March to sell Rocketdyne. Growth will be limited at Rocketdyne. It is still a very good business. It's a national asset, but unfortunately, without a national space policy, growth will be limited for some time. Well, some time, how long? Well, until they have the right pretext. Rocketdyne dates to early rocketry, working with pioneers such as Wernher von Braun and contributing to propulsion on Apollo spacecraft in the 1960s and 70s that brought astronauts to the moon. I love how no mention he was a Nazi. Why don't they ever bring that up? They just always oh yeah, Wernher von Braun, but never want to mention he was a Nazi. Can't do that. Not in American news. The company has a future with NASA, even if the space agency's path is unclear, said Rocketdyne President Jim Mazur. 3 of 4 companies vying to take crew to space stations would use Rocketdyne propulsion, he said. Still, he said NASA's path is unclear. There is an unofficial space policy, and I can't cite it, to be honest. What does that mean? That's cryptic. There is an official space policy, and I can't cite it, to be honest. What does that mean? So there's an official policy about space that they have that they can't tell. Yeah, they know something, or they're planning something. I mean, they need the perfect pretext to be able to justify their existence. And you know how these guys are, man. You can't put anything past them. So I think that this is kind of a clear example of somebody that would have the motive if they were going to do a staged alien invasion thing. Because I've always said, even if they get on TV tomorrow and they tell you that aliens are invading, be skeptical of that, but also be skeptical of the people that are telling you it's fake too. You know what I mean? It's going to be very difficult if this ever goes down. They ever pull this, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very important that you use your discernment and your judgment, and you don't jump to a rash decision or jump to a rash belief too quickly without examining all the information. But people just get overwhelmed with emotion. Think about what happened in 9/11. If there was alien invasion stuff, or it would be the same way. People would be freaking out, not thinking with their rational thoughts, and anything could get by them. I love this contradiction. First they say Al-Qaeda is weakened and they can't plan big strikes. Then they say Al-Qaeda is planning a big payback because of the U.S. raid on bin Laden. I mean, so which one is it? Are they weakened or they can't plan big attacks? I mean, this is all... I guess why I don't even read any of this horse shit anymore, because it's all just political propaganda used for the phony dog and pony show that is the election. That's all it is. It's used by whatever particular candidate, in this case, the incumbent. Just can't even fucking deal with it. I thought this was interesting. So now Hollywood is moving to this strategy of releasing movies in Europe before releasing them in the United States, because apparently all it takes, I guess, I didn't know, I wasn't aware of this. I guess our garbage media in the United States really holds that much weight that if a movie comes out over here before it comes out in Europe, a big blockbuster like, I don't know, what's a turd that's come out over the past few years that just sank? Oh, that more recent one, John Carter. Because if one review in some magazine over here in the United States says the movie sucks, and nobody goes and sees it over in Europe. So what they're doing is now releasing stuff over there first, which I don't understand. What happens? So if somebody in the UK says that a movie sucks, we won't believe that because it was somebody from the UK? Is that what that is? But they made $170 million. Universal Pictures made $170 million more dollars from their new Battleship movie that I guarantee you is a flaming turd. DOA on arrival, baby. Guaranteed it's a flaming turd. But because they released it in Europe first instead of the United States, they made $170 million additional dollars because there wasn't anybody to say, that movie's a flaming turd. DOA, dead on arrival. I mean, what's going to be their strategy next? Well, if we just nuke the whole rest of the United States and allow California just to float out there into the ocean, and we just make us a floating movie studio, we won't have no problems. It's them damn pesky Americans watching movies first. Why we can't make any money off anything? It's like, well, we were talking in the chat room earlier. Like Lars Ulrich saying Napster ruined Metallica's career because they weren't selling records anymore because of Napster. No, you weren't selling any records anymore, motherfucker, because you fucking suck. And you scapegoated, do my work, do my dirty work, scapegoat. You scapegoated Napster because you have a micro penis. End of story. Your Honor, the prosecution rests. I just thought it was interesting. So I guess our crap media over here, our entertainment media, which is the most vile form of trash and garbage, and goddamn, if you got cable, you got 100 channels of it. And fucking, oh God, I don't even know all the different channels there are for this garbage now. Tons of them. MTV's turned totally that. Just pure filth. Oh, here's one that come as a big shocker to you. Not. Terrorist plots hatched by the FBI. No. I'll never believe that. That sounds like a conspiracy theory. Well, it's in Newburgh, New York. And a fanciful idea to fly explosive-laden model planes into the Pentagon and the Capitol was hatched in Massachusetts. But all these dramas were facilitated by the FBI, whose undercover agents and informers posed as terrorists offering a dummy missile, fake C4 explosives, a disarmed suicide vest, and rudimentary training. Suspects naively played their parts until they were arrested. Now, I've talked about this a million times on my show throughout the years. It's the To Catch a Predator 2.0, the terrorist version. But then they get to count this as busting a terrorist. Even though there was no terror plot originally, they cooked it up. But when they do a bust of these guys, it goes to the news media, FBI busts massive terror plot. But then you actually read the article, which most people, I guess, don't anymore. Well, you read the article and it'll tell you exactly that. They admit to it every time. But sometimes they do it and they don't admit to it. The 93 World Trade Center bombings come to mind. They admitted that they cooked up the bomb and made the whole thing happen. And it was the same kind of thing here. But somehow that's still considered, oh, well, our men had good judgment busting that terrorists, and thank God we'd keep America safe one more day. When an Oregon college student, Muhammad Osman Muhammad, thought of using a car bomb to attack a festive Christmas tree lighting ceremony in Portland, the FBI provided a van loaded with 6 55-gallon drums of inert material, harmless blasting caps, a detonator cord, and a gallon of diesel fuel to make the van smell flammable. An undercover FBI agent even did the driving with Mr. Muhammad in the passenger seat. To trigger the bomb, the student punched a number into a cell phone and got no boom, only a bust. This is legal, but is it legitimate? Without the FBI, would the culprits commit violence on their own? Is cultivating potential terrorists the best use of the manpower designed to find the real ones? Well, there are no real ones, so they have to make up these. Don't you get it? You think they're going around doing this for no reason? They're going around doing this so they can put fucking news articles on TV and on newspapers. Oh, we busted a terrorist today. Yes, we're keeping you safe from those terrorists. Make sure we that all this tracking and all this stuff that's making your life worse is justified. Oh, we're justifying it. Look, we busted another terrorist. But you're not busting a terrorist when you just get some retard, and I'm not even trying to be mean. In a lot of cases, these people are really mentally retarded. Yeah, I'll blow it out back. Not very much is real. Key witness to RFK assassination says Sirhan did not act alone. Well, we knew that. I discussed that in pretty good detail in my new film, The Secret Right, Volume 2. That, Anthony J. Hilder still, that guy. big time suspect for me. Just too many coincidences, too many chances, things that are not chances. I mean, you look at his connections to, I can't remember the guy's name. The guy that helped him put out those, it's all in the film. The 33 RPM vinyls and all that stuff. The fact that he was at the Rosicrucian Center, admittedly, in California the day before the shooting with Sirhan. You know, he was with Gilboyne, the Hollywood hypnotist, learning hypnotism from him. Goes over to him frantic with a gun, saying, you're going to need this in a couple of days because something's going to happen. There's going to be race riots. And then Hilder just happens to be, at the Ambassador Hotel when he shot. At minimum, he's the one that gave the gun to Sirhan and hypnotized him. At minimum. At maximum, he was involved in the shooting itself. I don't know that for a fact, but the fact that he had a .38 pistol or the same kind of gun Sirhan had and went to Gilboyne frantically, telling him he was going to need the gun and all this stuff, there's no question. And I think we will see the truth about this sooner than we'll see the truth about JFK, that's for sure. A key witness to the 1968 assassination of Robert F. Kennedy has retracted her official statements in the case and now claims that convicted assassin Sirhan did not act alone. Nina Rhodes Hughes, 78, tells CNN and the FBI that then California Attorney General Kamala Harris twisted her original statements to authorities. What has to come out is that there was another shooter to my right, Rhodes told CNN. The truth has got to be told. No more cover-ups. Rhodes' original FBI statement says she heard 8 gunshots at the time and makes no mention of a second shooter. However, Rhodes, who was just 2 feet away from Kennedy, says she never claimed to have only heard 8 shots. I never said 8 shots. I never said it. There were more than 8 shots. There were maybe at least 12, maybe 14. I don't know. But there were because I heard the rhythm in my head. Last November, Sirhan's attorneys announced that they were filing a challenge to the verdict alleging a conspiracy by authorities in the case. They're asking that Sirhan be released from prison. His attorneys argue that Sirhan was the victim of a malicious form of hypno-programming that falsely caused him to believe he was RFK's assassin. For me, it is hopeful and sad that it's only coming out now instead of before, but at least now instead of never, Rhodes told CNN. Rhodes was never called as a witness in Sirhan's trial, but claims she gave an interview shortly after the shooting, during which she claimed to have heard at least a dozen shots. And there you go. There's your. If you heard a dozen shots, there was definitely more than one shooter there. That's for sure. I read this. I don't even see what the problem is. That's just good German engineering right there. Man sues BMW alleging motorcycle seat gave him a 2-year erection. And you're suing? You ought to be sending these motherfuckers a fruit basket, dude. You got a bike? You bought a bike from BMW and you got a 2-year erection out of it. What do you expect? This is Germans. That's German engineering, dude. BMW. Our bikes are so badass, you'll get a 2-year hard-on. I mean, they ought to put that shit in the commercial. That's a tagline if I ever heard it. Motherfuckers, motorcycles from BMW will be flying off the goddamn shelves this year. Recession, nothing. Fuck this. Honey, I don't give a damn. You're going to be happy I get one of these. 2-year erection. Christ. Commercials for erectile dysfunction medications like Cialis end with a warning that an individual should contact their doctor if they have an erection that lasts for more than 4 hours. Yes, either that or contact your local hand cream dispenser. After 20 months, Henry Wolf decided to contact a lawyer instead, claiming that the seat on his BMW motorcycle gave him an erection lasting nearly 2 years. Again, why is this? What's the problem? I mean, at least, there would be no question at any given time you were ready to go. You know what I mean? And you just walk around with a fucking Woodrow all the time. I mean, there would be no question. Women would know immediately that you were down for business at any time. Be no question about it. No beating around the bush. It's like, oh, yeah, well, all right. Let's do this. The San Francisco Chronicle reports that Wolf filed a lawsuit against BMW North American and Corbin Pacific, claiming that the rigid seat on his 1993 motorcycle left him with mental and emotional anguish, causing an extreme case of priapism, also known as a long-lasting erection. Mental anguish. Man, I don't even know what to say about that. I don't know. I just fail to see the problem. Yeah, he's probably a celibate Christian, right? Yeah, I guess so. Google sued for suggesting Rupert Murdoch and other celebrities are Jewish. You mean he's not? Okay. That's news to me. Google has been hit with a lawsuit in France by suggesting that certain celebrities, including News Corp chairman Rupert Murdoch and Mad Men star John Hamm, are Jewish. Since 2008, Google has been attempting to anticipate what its users will type into search boxes with its suggest feature, but lawyers for SOS Racisme, a French organization that fights discrimination, say that by connecting persons with an often persecuted religious minority, the giant web is overseeing the creation of what is possibly the biggest Jewish file in history. Oh, my goodness. According to local press reports, there's a hearing scheduled for Wednesday in the lawsuit. The plaintiff is contending that Google's users are confronted daily with unsolicited and systematic associations between famous people and their Jewishness. Right. I guess the cryptos are getting mad because everybody's finding out who they are now. I didn't want anybody to know I was a Jew. Hey, take a tip from Joe Biden, right? Remember what he said in that video? Proud to be a Zionist, Biden? I am a Zionist. You don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist. That's what they're talking about. No, you don't. That's just too funny. Google's creating a Jew catalog. We can't have that. Father accused of trying to sacrifice his son. Happy Beltane, right? I guess expect more of these stories. Father is in custody accused of attempting to sacrifice his own son in a San Diego area cemetery. Joseph Ramirez, 30, took his family to Mount Hope Cemetery Saturday around 4:30 p.m. and told his dead grandmother, told him to sacrifice the 8-year-old boy. According to San Diego police, officers released a report stating Ramirez had brought candles to the cemetery. One of the candles broke, and he used a piece of the broken glass to slash open his son's forearms. Ramirez then slashed his own forearms. Medical assistant Corey Granberry witnessed the incident and jumped in to help, along with her best friends, Demisha Perez. Granberry was visiting her godson's grave when she saw a woman, clothes covered in blood, calling for help. Out of all these people that were passing her by, she almost got hit by a car. All these people that were just passing her by. She said somehow Perez was able to convince Ramirez to let the child go. I grabbed the little boy, sat him down on the curb, grabbed his shirt, and wrapped up his arm. When officers arrived, they transported Ramirez to a nearby hospital for treatment. Once he's released, officers say Ramirez will be booked into county jail on charges of child abuse and assault with a deadly weapon. Cocaine is a hell of a drug. I don't know what else to say. Middleborough police chief proposes $20 fine for swearing. Fuck that. Public swearing is so bad. Where is this? Oh, this is in like fucking Massachusetts. Hey, I'm from Massachusetts. I mean, how those fuckers talk? I can remember how to fucking make fun. I don't know how to remember how to make fun of them. $20 for cussing in Massachusetts. My God. They're going to put the whole goddamn state in jail. This is rich. It seems the Michael Jackson defense has come back into play. You know what I'm talking about, right? The Michael Jackson defense. Well, let me sum it up for you if you're not aware. The Michael Jackson defense is this. Just because you like to have underage boys in your house that's made like a amusement park and give them candy and toys. And just because you have a kiddie porn dungeon in your closet and you like to sleep with little underage boys in your bed does not mean that you are a pedophile. That's the Michael Jackson defense. Seems the pedophile priests are now attempting to use this defense as well. Priest admits watching porn and sharing a bed with teenage boy, but denies inappropriate touching. So yeah, I mean, I was watching porn and in a bed with a teenage boy, and I'm a priest, yeah. But, I didn't touch him at all or anything. I mean, it's perfectly natural. We were just watching porn and sitting in bed. I didn't touch him or anything. It's okay, right? I mean, my God, come on. It's not pedophilia if you just have little boys in your bed watching porno, right? The old Jackson defense. Mao, Lenin, and a century of Marxist radicals. The controversial origins of Obama's new campaign slogan, Forward. He's no stranger to accusations of being a communist, and Barack Obama did himself no favors today, unveiling a new campaign slogan that critics say has the unfortunate similarities to ones used by Chairman Mao and other communists. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's what sucks about this, is because now, if you point these stuff like these facts out, I mean, and they're true, and this is true, but pointing that out somehow makes you a right-winger. That's how deep the brainwashing has got. People really are communists, and people really are socialists and all the rest of this stuff. But again, because of those people like McCarthy and the JBS and their years and years of calling everybody a commie, just like now we've had years and years of Alex Jones saying everybody's New World Order, see, they're changing it around. So then it becomes, once you call somebody a communist, it's like people can't really be a communist anymore. But again, that's what's so frustrating about this, because this is a fact. But again, pointing this out somehow makes you, you must be a right-winger then. Just because you won't go blindly along and you admit something that is a fact somehow puts you on a certain side of the fence. Fuck that. I don't like either one of these cocksuckers. The president released his new slogan, Forward, in a triumphant 7-minute campaign video. But longtime critics of the president, such as Breitbart.com, have pointed out the similarities to Mao Zedong's Great Leap Forward campaign of forced collectivization and industrialization. Right, well, that's what they want. Turn us into the new China, which resulted in the deaths of millions. Spring Forward was also a slogan used by Vladimir Lenin in communist Russia. It has been used as the title of a large number of socialist publications, reflecting the Marxist conviction that the triumph of their ideology was an inevitable part of the progress of history. One magazine with the title was the mouthpiece of the Communist League in the 19th century, associated with communist trailblazers Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. Obama's re-election team today unveiled the new motto in the video that compares the president's record on jobs to the preceding years of the financial crisis and trumpets his record. But observers have pointed out that the new slogan bears strong similarities to MSNBC's Lean Forward as Obama ditches his successful 2008 model Hope and Change. But yeah, I mean, here we go. Oh, you're going to live in a communist country. Don't worry. You're going to get to live in that. Don't worry about that. You're going to get your wish. All you people that have been running around wearing Che Guevara shirts for all these years, don't worry. You're going to get your wish. We're going to take a break, come back, finish up with our news, and get into more of our reading of the astral plane for you here tonight on the show. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. And today was the last day of our fundraiser. I want to thank everybody who chipped in to help us out and reach our goal this month in April to get the bills paid. And while it was a very, very slow month for the most part, everybody came through at the very end of the month and helped us get everything handled. So if you didn't support us, please do so. We have the new chipping banner up there. We also have one for the Rockwall / Ancient Society smell. I guess I should tell you the title. It has a title now. The Lost Secrets of Ancient America Part 1, we have that up there. P.O. Box, if you absolutely can't use PayPal, we have the Amazon wish list up there, which you can select something to buy. It'll be sent directly to me for equipment and things we need for the films. However you want to do it, that's how you support it. All right, back here with you on the Global Reality, right here on the Global Reality Radio Network with me, your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being here with us tonight. Oh, excuse me. For another late-night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. And we're going to be finishing up our news in this segment and getting on to our continued series of reading the astral plane, its inhabitants, and scenery for you here tonight. Again, I want to thank everybody who supported us in the month of April and everybody who helped us to get the operating costs handled here. And every single person, large or small, no matter how much you donated, everybody out there, thank you so much for helping out. And please continue to tell people about the show and what the films that we're doing here. And again, you know, since we just had to pay the bills, we have to not a lot left after that. So please act accordingly and help us out this week as well if you can. I was going to mention this earlier. When I was talking about this Masonic floor, 200,000 years old. And some of these other structures like the rock wall have been found. I just keep finding so much new stuff. It's hard to keep up with and tell you all about it every day because it's just mind-blowing. There's actually a place in Oklahoma, in the Oklahoma Panhandle, and I can't locate exactly where this is from anything I can find online. It's kind of frustrating. But apparently there's a place in the Panhandle of Oklahoma called Anubis Cave, or the Anubis Caves. Well, that alone should get you, pretty highly interested. It did me as soon as I heard about it. But, apparently this Anubis Cave is aligned to the solstice. It has basically, Celtic, symbology and things. But again, it's got these solar alignments. It's just crazy how many things are right in our own backyards, essentially, that are being suppressed and pushed down. And more of this stuff just keeps coming to me. Again, if there's anybody out there, people who have these mounds or anything like this anywhere near you, you can go out and get good footage of. Please go out and get good footage of and send it to me, and it will go in the film. We need whatever anybody out there can do. We need it. This is a very interesting article because I wonder what the motive behind this article is. I think it's pretty clear that the motive behind this is to push the narrative of alien abductions farther on to the general public than they already have up to this point. But they have there's this article here. It's entitled, "Our Close Encounters, Meet the Alien Abductees and the Pictures They Drew to Prove They Weren't Imagining It All." And I want to show you some pictures of some of these people who are describing these alien abductions. Now, that one right there looks like a goddamn alien herself, or reptilian or something. And then there's this guy who literally looks like, the stereotypical conspiracy theorists that they put in movies. And then this woman who looks like she's staring off out into space on, some heavy hallucinogens. What? And oh, yes, I see aliens. It's just bizarre. These people look like fucking zombies. And, look, I know that, I have no doubt that there probably has been some people that have been abducted by aliens and all that stuff, or abducted by somebody, government experiments or something. But the fact of the matter is, folks, with all the SSRIs and all the prescription drugs that everybody is doing these days, and just what's in the water, these people may be hallucinating. I don't know. I can't bring myself to even read that article because I can't see their faces. But read that article if you can't. Well, fuck, I already closed out the link. Shit. It's on the Daily Mail. You can go under I think it's under their science heading. Daily Mail UK. But it's just the narrative they're pushing this, and it's just, ugh. I mean, those people, no offense, those people look fucking nuts. And I think that that's what for years they have allowed to come out. They don't allow people to have credible, real stories and experiences out into the public eye. Now, they keep them tucked away. What they want are people that look fucking crazy. This guy with a UFO shirt on and this bitch that looks like she's a reptile. I mean, this is the crazy kooks that they want out there. That way nobody's ever going to believe them. Look at these people. Would you believe a goddamn thing that came out of any of those people's mouths? I doubt it. They could very well be telling the truth. But I do know it's possible for you to have an experience with this kind of stuff, a real personal experience with it, and not be completely batshit out of your mind crazy. But we never see that. Just like we never, like Bill Hicks used to say, we never see a positive drug story, You never see a positive UFO or abduction thing. You never see somebody who's normal and got their shit together that gets abducted and wants to talk about it. But those people exist. I've met them before. I'm thinking about making a film that has some of that in it. Just me going around interviewing people who've had experiences either with paranormal or, extraterrestrial type things, just to show that there are actually coherent, sane people out there who've had experiences with things they can't explain. And they're not all, crazy, already batshit insane on SSRIs and everything else. God knows what else. Probably not all there to begin with. That's the problem. Oftentimes, you get somebody who's already not there to begin with, and they have a mystical or extraterrestrial experience, and goddamn, it just, it fries them even more than they already were. It's like fucking giving them a lobotomy. This kind of information does that to some people. I've seen it do that to people. It makes them fucking just, they're already a little not there. You give some people that are already a little out there, you give them a little drugs, give them a little alcohol, and it's just fuel on the fire, and they go fucking apeshit nuts. Well, that's how information and stuff can be as well, and experiences as well. Especially an experience with the paranormal or with, with these energies or extraterrestrial or anything that you can't explain and have no reference for. Boy, those can really drive people crazy. You're going to be able to see Venus, the brightest you'll be able to see it for a long time this week, which is supposedly supposed to mean that, of course, the return of Quetzalcoatl is upon us. He will come from the Mount Popocatépetl volcano in Mexico. And fly out and return the feathered serpent. Yes. So we'll have that this week. And we'll also have the biggest full moon of the year happening on Saturday night, 11:35 p.m. A full moon this weekend is said to be the biggest this year, earning itself supermoon status. It coincides with the moon's closest approach to Earth, known as its perigee, which will bring it to 221,802 miles away, making it the year's biggest so far. So definitely going to be some be looking out for rituals and events and shootings and who knows what else going on this week. Who knows what these fuckers are going to pull this week? I would say, I don't like to get in the business of making predictions, but I would just say this week, I'll get ready probably for some shit to go down. Just a hunch. I don't know. Man rescued from 10-foot hole in his backyard after 3 days of digging for treasure that spirits told him were buried there. My God. See? Now people are hearing voices tell them to go dig shit up in their backyard. Well, I don't have any voices telling me to go dig up the rock wall, but geez Louise. Where's this at? Oh, God, it's in Indiana? Man, oh, fuck. Indiana is chock full of tons and tons of mounds, many of which I hear are haunted. I know we got a lot of listeners up in Wisconsin. Who's going to, by the way, I know we got a lot of Wisconsin listeners in the audience. I know we do. At least like 5 or 6 that I know of personally. If you're from Wisconsin and you're in the chat room, raise your hands like you just don't care. You know what I'm saying? And wave them in the air. Who in the hell is going to go dive in that fucking lake in Wisconsin and get footage of those pyramids underneath that lake? That's what I want to know. A man who had to be rescued from a 10-foot deep hole he had dug in his backyard says spirits told him gold was buried there. It took 35 firefighters from Elkhart, Indiana, and 3 nearby crews to free the 25-year-old, who has not been identified after he encountered some water and became trapped in the hole. Yeah, groundwater, Bubba. You got to have fucking pumps when you start getting down to that depth. Didn't account for the groundwater, huh? Noob. Firefighters were able to save the man after vacuuming out the water in the hole for 2 hours and reinforcing its wall so it did not collapse. The man, who was conscious and alert once out of the hole, had reportedly been digging for treasure for 3 days using just a hand shovel. His father told WSBT-TV that his son said spirits ordered him to dig for gold buried in the backyard of the home they rent. The pair began digging last Tuesday until they were stopped by the water they encountered. The father was able to escape from the hole while his son became submerged in the water. That's just fucking weird. Is that what the elite got going on too? Are they, are they hearing voices to tell them to go and find antiquities? Wouldn't surprise me, considering, you know, the stuff we have of John D., the Enochian system and the communication system. And I mean, shit, that's, you understand that the stuff John D. was channeling, that's what told him to come to the United States, or told, you know, why he told Sir Francis Bacon that with the United States, or well, the America's the new world at that time, what they called, they didn't call it the United States or America yet, but what we know as as North America. John D. was told in a channeling session that this was the ancient Atlantis, and that Sir Francis Bacon knew that, and that was what they were going there to set up, the new Atlantis. Rise of poisonous caterpillars that can cause lethal asthma attacks is unstoppable, say experts. Well, these aren't caterpillars. These are like, we call these asps, is what we call these down here. You get stung by one of the little caterpillar-looking things like webworms. You get stung by one, they sting like fucking fire. Apparently these are getting more dangerous and more plentiful. The potentially deadly exotic caterpillars invading Britain are unstoppable. Okay, well, this is Britain, but I just read a story the other day said that these were invading Louisiana as well, so this is everywhere. Oak processionary moths, which are highly toxic pests during their caterpillar stage, have spread into new areas of the country. There are even fears that the insects could affect the Olympics if oak trees in East London suffer an infestation. Yeah, webworms. Oh, those fuckers hurt bad, too, man. Whoo! Yeah, bad news. I got stung by one of those when I was a baby and got stung by one of those when I was a teenager. Not good. Visionary research. Scientists to conduct human trials of a bionic eye that beams images directly to the brain. That's right. You'll beam them directly to my brain. I need your cars, your boots, and your motorcycle, and your brain, because I don't have one. So far, bionic eyes have only been seen in sci-fi films such as The Terminator. In that movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger plays a robot with enhanced vision capable of scanning and analyzing its surroundings. Now Australian researchers are set to make computer-aided sight a reality, though not quite as sophisticated as the infamous cyborg. Scientists from the Monash Vision Group at Monash University in Australia will begin human trials of a bionic eye in 2014. The device will consist of a tiny camera mounted into a pair of glasses, which acts as the retina. Images from this are converted into signals and relayed to a chip implanted in the brain. The aim for this vision prosthetic is to be at least equivalent to a seeing eye dog or a white cane. While it would initially complement existing aids such as these, we believe the device will eventually replace them. And again, this is how they're going to sell you on the transhumanist merging with machines ideology, is by, oh, well, we can help blind people see. Oh, it's good. It's good. But the next thing you know, we all have chips in us. We all have nano computers in us. You know, I don't know, man. They're going to have to get some good marketing for this. If the marketing is tight, I'm going to say this. If the marketing is tight, they could sell it. I mean, shit. If the marketing's good enough, I might even get down on it. You know what I mean? But, man, they're going to have some slick marketing. I mean, they're going to have to make Apple's marketing department look like the fucking Three Stooges. You know what I mean? They're going to have to sell this shit good. And I think they will. The way it's going, I mean, cell phones and computers and our technological reliance on all of this stuff all the time now. And, you know, I'm not preaching because I'm saying I'm free of it. I'm not. I'm fucking attached to it as much as anybody. But, you know, you try to do what you can to limit yourself at least here and there in certain places. But still, this is how they're selling it to us first. And eventually, people will become more lazy than they are now, won't want to carry things around anymore. What's the next logical step when you don't want to lug around a piece of technology all the time anymore? Well, get it implanted into your body, right? It's coming. All right, well, I think that's about all we have with the news here tonight. We will be getting into our continued series of reading here. So let me get to the book. All right, so we're getting into number 3 of the different types of entities inhabiting the astral plane. Number 3, artificial. So artificial is where we're picking up. So I guess we're going to be talking about artificial entities that are created and existing in the astral plane. It makes you wonder if these are artificial entities. Who created these entities? What is their origin? Artificial. This, the largest class of astral entities, is also much the most important to man. Being entirely his own creation, it is interrelated with him by the closest karmic bonds, and its action upon him is direct and incessant. It is an enormous, inchoate mass of semi-intelligent entities, differing among themselves as human thoughts differ, and practically incapable of anything like classification or arrangement. The only division which can be usefully made is that which distinguishes between the artificial elementals made by the majority of mankind unconsciously and those made by magicians with definite intent. While we may relegate to a third class the very small number of artificially arranged entities which are not elementals at all. Number 1, elementals formed unconsciously. It has already been explained that the elemental essence which surrounds us on every side is, in all its numberless varieties, singularly susceptible to the influence of human thought. The action of the mere casual wandering thought upon it causing it to burst into a cloud of rapidly moving evanescent forms, has already been described. We have now to note how it is affected when the human mind formulates a definite, purposeful thought or wish. The effect produced is of the most striking nature. The thought seizes upon the plastic essence and molds it instantly into a living being of appropriate form. A being which, when once thus created, is in no way under the control of its creator, but lives out a life of its own, the length of which is proportionate to its intensity of the thought or wish which called it into existence. It lasts, in fact, just as long as the thought force holds it together. Most people's thoughts are so fleeting and indecisive that the elementals created by them last only a few minutes or a few hours. But often an oft-repeated thought or an earnest wish will form an elemental whose existence may extend to many days. Since the ordinary man's thoughts refer very largely to himself, the elementals they form remain hovering about him and constantly tend to provoke a repetition of the idea they represent. Since such repetitions, instead of forming new elementals, would strengthen the old ones and give it a fresh lease on life, a man, therefore, who frequently dwells upon one wish often forms for himself an astral attendant which, constantly fed by fresh thought, may haunt him for years, ever gaining more and more strength and influence over him. And it will be easily seen that if the desire be an evil one, the effect upon his moral nature may be of the most disastrous character. Still more pregnant of result for good or evil are a man's thoughts about other people. For in that case, they hover not about the thinker, but about the object of the thought. A kindly thought about any person or an earnest wish for his good will form and project towards him a friendly artificial elemental. If the wish be a definite one, as, for example, that he may recover from some sickness, then the elemental will be a force ever hovering over him to promote his recovery, or to ward off any influence that might tend to hinder it. And in doing this, it will display what appears like a very considerable amount of intelligence and adaptability, though really it is simply a force acting along the line of least resistance, resting steadily in one direction all the time and taking advantage of any channel that it can find, just as the water in a cistern would in a moment find the one open pipe among a dozen closed ones and proceed to empty itself through that. If the wish be merely an indefinite one for his general good, the elemental essence in its wonderful plasticity will respond exactly to that less distinct idea also, and the creature formed will expend its force in the direction of whatever action for the man's advantage comes most readily to hand. Of course, in all cases, the amount of such force it has where'd I leave off? Of course, in all cases, the amount of such force it has to expend and the length of time that it will live to expend it depend entirely upon the strength of the original wish or thought from which it gave birth, though it must be remembered that it can be, as it were, fed and strengthened and its life period protracted by other good wishes or friendly thoughts projected in the same direction. Furthermore, it appears to be actuated, like most other beings, by an instinctive desire to prolong its life, and thus reacts on its creator as a force constantly tending to provoke the renewal of the feeling which called it into existence. It also influences, in a similar manner, others with whom it comes into contact, though its rapport with them is naturally not so perfect. All that has been said as to the effect of good wishes and friendly thoughts is also true in the opposite direction of evil, and evil wishes and angry thoughts. And considering the amount of envy, hatred, malice, and all uncharitableness that exists in the world, it will be readily understood that among the artificial elements, many terrible creatures are to be seen. A man whose thoughts or desires are spiteful, brutal, sensual, avaricious, moves through the world carrying with him everywhere a pestiferous atmosphere of his own. People with the loathsome being he has created to be his companions, and thus is not only in sadly evil case himself, but is a dangerous nuisance to his fellow man, subjecting all who have the misfortune to come in contact with him to the risk of moral contagion from the influence of the abominations which he chooses to surround himself. A feeling of envious or jealous hatred towards another person will send an evil elemental to hover over him and seek for a weak point through which it can operate. And if the feeling be a persistent one, such a creature may be continually nourished by it and thereby enabled to protract its undesirable activity for a long period of time. It can, however, produce no effect upon the person towards whom it is directed unless he has himself some tendency which it can foster, some fulcrum for its lever. As it were, from the aura of man, of pure thought and good life, all such influences at once rebound, finding nothing upon which they can fasten, and in that case, by a very curious law, they react in all their force upon their original creator. In him, by the hypothesis, they find a very congenial sphere of action. And thus the karma of his evil wish works itself out at once by means of the very entity which he himself has called into existence. It occasionally happens, however, that an artificial elemental of this description is, for various reasons, unable to expend its force either upon its object or its creator, and in such cases it becomes a kind of wandering demon, readily attracted by any person who indulges feelings similar to that which it gave birth, and equally prepared either to stimulate either stimulate such feelings in him for the sake of the strength it may gain from them, or to pour out its store of evil influence upon him through any opening which he may offer. If it is sufficiently powerful to seize upon and inhabit some passing shell, it frequently does so, as the possession of such a temporary home enables it to husband its dreadful resources more carefully. In this form it may manifest through a medium, and by masquerading as some well-known friend, sometimes it may obtain an influence over people upon whom it would otherwise have little hold. What has been written above will serve to enforce the statement already made as to the importance of maintaining a strict control over our thoughts. Many a well-meaning man who is scrupulously careful to do his duty towards his neighbor in word and deed is apt to consider that his thoughts, at least, are nobody's business but his own, and so lets them run riot in various directions, utterly unconscious of the swarms of baleful creatures he is launching upon the world. To such a man, an accurate comprehension of the effect of thought and desire in producing artificial elements would come as a horrifying revelation. On the other hand, it would be the greatest consolation to many devoted and grateful souls who are oppressed with the feeling that they are unable to do anything in return for the kindness lavished upon them by their benefactors. For friendly thoughts and earnest good wishes are as easily and as effectually formulated by the poorest as by the richest. And it is within the power of almost any man, if he will take the trouble to maintain what is practically a good angel, always at the side of the brother or sister, the friend or the child whom he loves best, no matter in what part of the world he may be. Many a time a mother's loving thoughts and prayers have formed themselves into an angel guardian for the child, and except in the almost impossible case that the child had in him no instinct responsive to a good influence, have undoubtedly given him assistance and protection. Such guardians may often be seen by clairvoyant vision, and there have even been cases where one of them has had sufficient strength to materialize and become for the moment visible to physical sight. A curious fact which deserves mention here is that even after the passage of the mother into the devacanic condition, the love which she pours out upon the children she thinks of as surrounding her will react upon the real children still living in this world, and will often support the guardian elemental which she created while on earth. Until her dear ones themselves pass away in return, as Madame Blavatsky remarks, her love will always be felt by the children in the flesh. It will manifest itself in their dreams and often in various events. It providential protections and escapes, for love is a strong shield and is not limited by space or time. And speaking of Blavatsky, I want to bring something up here. Where am I going to find this email? Oh, man, I can't find it now. I'll have to find it and try to read it on another show. Yeah, I'll find it and bring it up later. It was about Blavatsky. Somebody sent me this crap about, oh, Blavatsky is bad, the same old patriot bullcrap line. You know what? I'm just going to have to do it eventually and just make a film about it. No, you're buying the old bullshit again. Blavatsky was demonized, and her work has been taken and corrupted into something it was not intentionally originally intended to be. Annie Besant and all that later theosophy stuff, all that stuff was a corruption of the original information. They demonized her and made her out to be some Luciferian, while they've taken her theosophic teachings and turned it into this new version of theosophy, which has become one of the main philosophies of the one-worlders, and they've demonized the original source and made it into their own. And that's a fact, and we're talking about getting Tessarian on. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get Tessarian on and have him come on and discuss that with me as well, because it's an absolute fact, and I'm sick to death of hearing all these. Every time I bring up Blavatsky, somebody repeats to me some bullshit they heard from, some Christian loser, patriot truther, probably like the one that's trolling in the chat room right now. Probably Rob Bishop and his Jonesy fluffer himself. Probably pissed off because I snuck that little picture of his faggoty ass into the cigarette too. He's the only one that types things like that. His name's not even Rob Bishop. He's an old, he never was wannabe radio host. All the stories of the intervention of guardian angels must not, however, be attributed to the action of artificial elementals. For in many cases, such angels have been the souls of either living or recently departed human beings, and they have also occasionally, though rarely, been devas. The power of an earnest desire, especially if frequently repeated, to create an active elemental which ever presses forcefully in the direction of its own fulfillment, is the scientific explanation of what devout but unphilosophical people describe as answers to a prayer. There are occasions, though at present these are rare, when the karma of the person so praying is such as to permit of assistance being directly rendered to him by an adept or his pupil. And there is also the still rarer possibility of the intervention of a deva or some friendly nature spirit, but in all these cases, the easiest and most obvious form for such assistance to take would be the strengthening and the intelligent direction of the elemental already formed by the wish. A very curious and instructive instance of the extreme persistence of these artificial elementals under favorable circumstances came under the notice of one of our investigators quite recently. All readers of the literature of such subjects are aware that many of our ancient families are supposed to have associated with them a traditional death warning, a phenomenon of one kind or another which foretells usually some days beforehand the approaching decease of the head of the house. A picturesque example of this is the well-known story of the white bird of the Oxenhams, whose appearance has ever since the time of Queen Elizabeth been recognized as a sure passage of the death of some member of the family. While another is the spectral coach, which is reported to drive up to the door of a certain castle in the north when a similar calamity is impending. A phenomenon of this order occurs in connection with the family of one of our members, but it is of much a commoner and less striking type than either of the above, consisting only of a solemn and impressive strain of a dirge-like music, which is heard apparently floating in the air 3 days before the death takes place. Our member, having himself twice heard this mystic sound, finding its warning in both cases quite accurate, and knowing also that according to family tradition, the same thing had been happening for several centuries, he set himself to seek by occult methods for the cause underlying such a strange phenomenon. The result was unexpected but interesting. It appeared that somewhere in the 12th century, the head of the family went to the Crusades, like many other valiant men, and took with him to win his spurs in the sacred cause his youngest and favorite son, a promising youth whose success in life was the dearest wish of his father's heart. Unhappily, however, the young man was killed in battle, and the father was plunged into the depths of despair, lamenting not only the loss of his son, but still more the fact that he was cut off so suddenly in the full flush of careless and not altogether blameless youth. So poignant indeed were the old man's feelings that he cast off his knightly armor and joined one of the great monastic orders, vowing to devote all the remainder of his life to prayer, first for the soul of his son, and secondly that henceforward no descendant of his might ever encounter what seemed to his simple and pious mind the terrible danger of meeting death unprepared. Day after day for many a year he poured all the energy of his soul into the channel of that one intense wish, firmly believing that somehow or another the result he so earnestly desired would be brought about. A student of occultism will have little difficulty in deciding what would be the effect of such a definite and long-continued stream of thought. Our knightly monk created an artificial element of intense power and resourcefulness for its own particular object, and accumulated within it a store of force which would enable it to carry out his wishes for an indefinite period. An elemental is a perfect storage battery, one from which there is practically no leakage. And when we remember what its original strength must have been and how comparatively rarely it would be called upon to put it forth, we shall scarcely wonder that even now it exhibits unimpaired vitality and still warns the direct descendants of the old crusaders of their approaching doom by repeating in their ears the strange wailing music which was the dirge of a young and valiant soldier 700 years ago in Palestine. That's fucking mind-blowing. I've never heard that. So these certain families, bloodline families that fought in the Crusades, right before one of their family members is going to die, they hear strange music or weird sounds and stuff like that. No, boy, that is mind-blowing. It definitely leads a lot of credence to the idea of these bloodline families, being important, and that's why they've kept their bloodlines pure and had the interbreeding and all this stuff, as there is some sort of mystical connection with their bloodlines. So we'll stop right there, and we'll pick up next time on elementals formed consciously and get into more of the astral plane, its inhabitants, and its scenery here on the Global Reality, right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. We have the chip-in banner. We have a donate button. We have a chip-in banner for the new film up there for the budget. Kind of slow going on that, but if anyone wants to help out with that, you can. We have a P.O. box. We absolutely can't use PayPal. And we have the Amazon wish list there if you want to buy something, make a purchase for a piece of gear for us that'll get sent directly to me. That's great as well. Please support our work if you can. My name is Josh Reeves, and I love each and every one of you, and we will see you next time for the broadcast. Have yourselves a great one. Take care.